Hello friends. So on my videos, I get this objection quite a lot that when I'm talking about the achievements of Indian civilization, then most of these achievements have been of Brahmins. What about the Shudras? So there is this fake story or a fake narrative that has been propagated in India that all the achievements of Indian civilization have been mostly coming from just one particular part of the society, which is the Brahmins. This is not actually true. And in this video, I'm going to give you three examples of Shudras who were actually the gurus of Brahmins. Friends, India has a lot of enemies, and these enemies want to portray India in a very negative sense. And one of the best tools that they use is the caste system. So they generally say that look how oppressive Indian society was, that in this society, only one particular social group was allowed to study, everybody else was barred from it. A lot of people actually fall for it, and then they start hating their own civilization. Now, this mostly happens because people are very emotional, and when somebody speaks in a very emotional way, people fall for it. They never really give it any second thought and try to understand if what has been told to them is really true or not. If you look at Ramayana and Mahabharata, there are many counterexamples against this, but people never really pay attention to it. In the Ramayana, we have Valmiki himself, who was a highwayman and then turned into a sage by reciting the word Rama Rama. Then we have another example of Rishi Matanga of Rishyamukh, who was the son of a Chandal. In the Mahabharata, you can see that Shantanu marries Satyavati, who is the daughter of a Shudra fisherman, and her son Vichitravirya becomes the king, which clearly shows the fluidity in the hierarchy in Indian society. Then we have the whole Vyad Gita in Mahabharata, where a Vyad or a hunter, who is an untouchable, is giving instructions to a Brahmin. Now, since caste system has been ingrained in our minds so much that we never really look at these stories, and we always look for the stories which are related with caste system, and therefore we pay much more attention to stories of Eklavya and Shambhuk rather than paying attention to the story of Valmiki or story of Matanga Rishi or Vyad Gita and things like that. And so this is very unfortunate. Even in case of Mahabharata, when people talk about Karn, for example, they never really think about it in a positive way that look, Karn was a Shudra, was raised in a Shudra family, but he was so brilliant that through his brilliance he was able to become Angaraj. People never look at it like that. They always focus on the negative side and say that how difficult it was for Karn because he was raised in a Shudra family. Well, if you look at things right now, the things are not really much different. Even in today's times, if you are a poor person, it is very difficult for you to rise up to your full potential. Even if you belong to a high caste, if you are poor, it's very difficult for you to rise up. And so this is just a social situation. It is not really something inherent to the society itself. It's just a social situation that it is difficult for somebody who is poor to rise up. And so you have to keep that in mind. So with that in mind, I'm here going to give you three examples of very brilliant people who were actually from Shudra caste, but they were so brilliant that Brahmins actually went to them to study the scriptures. Kabir was the great mystic, poet, and saint of the 15th century India, whose writings influenced the Bhakti movement of Hinduism and was a major inspiration in the founding of Sikhism. Scholars keep fighting over whether Kabir was a Hindu or a Muslim, but we all know that he was a weaver, which is an occupation belonging to a Shudra. Moreover, religion of a person is not really determined by his or her birth, but by the beliefs, and Kabir is widely believed to be the disciple of Bhakti poet Saint Swami Ramananda in Varanasi, who was known for devotional Vaishnavism. If Shudras were prohibited from following the spiritual path in India, then why did Swami Ramananda accept Kabir as a disciple? Later on, Kabir took on as disciples Surat Gopal and Jagudas, who were both Brahmins. If Brahmins were so oppressive of Shudras, then why did they decide to learn from a weaver? This clearly goes against the popular narrative on rigid caste system that we hear all the time. Sant Tukaram was born to a More family belonging to a Kunbi caste, which is a backward caste of Maharashtra. Sant Tukaram's first wife and his son starved to death in the famine of 1630 to 1632 under the Mughal Empire. As a side note, this was also the time when Shah Jahan started the construction of Taj Mahal in Agra. And so while at one place in the empire people were dying out of starvation, Shah Jahan was busy building a mausoleum for his favorite wife. Anyways, the death and the widespread poverty had a profound effect on Tukaram and made him contemplative and meditative. Tukaram married again and spent most of his later years in devotional worship. In many of his abhangs, Tukaram repeatedly refers to four other persons who had a primary influence on his spiritual development, namely the earlier Bhakti saints Namadev, who is thought to be a tailor, Sant Gyaneshwar, who was an outcast Brahmin, Sant Kabir Das, who was a weaver as we have already discussed, and Sant Eknath, who was a Brahmin. So this clearly shows that there was no dogmatism of keeping non-Brahmins out of the intellectual pursuits in India. Sant Bahinabai, who was a Brahmin woman, was a disciple of Sant Tukaram. This clearly shows that not only the non-Brahmins but also women were allowed to study the scriptures. The best example for this is Mirabai, who was again not a Brahmin but a Kshatrani. Gulabrao Maharaj also belonged to a Maharashtrian Kunbi family. He wrote the commentary on the theories of Darwin and Spencer. He had written books on various subjects such as Dhyan, Yoga and Bhakti, and also wrote many commentaries on ancient treatises. He also wrote on Manas Ayurveda, which is a psychological aspect of Ayurveda. He had given valuable guidelines to those who wanted to attain the salvation and gain the eternal knowledge. He used to respect the Vedas, Brahmanas, and the guidance that we receive from the great wealth of old religious treatises. He had many Brahman pupils, and he also used to debate with many Pandits and used to defeat them in the Shastras. Friends, these are just three examples that I gave to you. There are numerous other examples. For example, there is the case of Devadeshi Maya in Karnataka, who was a weaver, so he's a Shudra, but he had Brahman students. Then there's the story of Pambatti Siddhar, who was a snake charmer, and he also had Brahman as students. So from these examples, it is clear to us that this narrative that has been told to us that only the Brahmins were allowed to study the scriptures or be saints is not actually true. There are many examples of people from lower caste who actually became saints. And actually, when you come to think of it, the situation then and the situation now is not very different. So I studied in IIT, and I noticed that most of the students in IITs are actually students who are coming from rich families. There are a few people who come from poor families, but most of the people are from rich families. So does this mean that IIT actually is an oppressive institution which only allows rich people to enter and study there? Well, absolutely not. We all know that IITs are open to everybody. You just have to pass the JEE examination and then you can enter. The problem is that to pass that JEE entrance examination, you have to go through rigorous study. And to do that, many of the students have to go to the coaching institutes. And since only rich people have the money to send their kids to coaching institute, that's why most of the people who get into IITs are actually coming from rich families. Now, if you are a brilliant student and you can crack the JEE without really going to coaching institute, then of course nobody can stop you from going to IITs. Similar situation was there in the old times. If you are brilliant, then it didn't matter if you are from lower caste or higher caste or from wherever. If you are brilliant, you will be able to attain greatness. So that is what you have to keep in mind. It's not really the inherent badness in our society itself. It's just the social situation itself makes it like that.